Hello viewers, my name is Chase Clover and this is my preview and prediction video for USW Call to Greatness 10. As some of you may know, the Call to Greatness 9 preview and prediction video was the first, or the review, was the first USW pay-per-view, or even pay-per-view video, or pay-per-view related video that I released on Uniton. So it's been over a year since I joined, and I'm glad to say that it's been one hell of a ride. In the past year, well, for most of that year, more than 2/3 of it, I was constantly releasing videos, and it was a blast. And I've lost a little bit of motivation, so I put out reviews or whatever videos when I can, and when I can't, or when I just don't feel like it, then I don't. But if there is, let's say, good intensity going on, or it's a go-home show to a pay-per-view, or it's the first intensity after a pay-per-view or something, then maybe I'll review it. Maybe I'll put in some time to do that. But until then, I'm probably just going to be going on a schedule of releasing a review when I feel like it. So without further ado, let's get into the Call to Greatness 10 preview and prediction video. So the first match on the Call to Greatness 10 kickoff, or Call to Greatness 10 match card, is the kickoff match, which is a Falls Count Anywhere submission match. Alexander Rotten versus Ash. Just check something real quickly. There we go. I'm going to try to give in information about both competitors, so didn't come prepared, so I apologize. Alright, Alexander Rotten has his submission finishing maneuver, which is the Rot, which is a bear hug submission. And Ash does not have a submission finisher, but he does have what is it considered, a Rollins knee, which is the Seth Rollins knee from the springboard off the top rope in the WWE, and he calls that the Two Dust, except he puts a more tilted version on it. So Ash doesn't necessarily have a signature submission, so you're more than likely going to see some kind of generic submission every time he locks one in, and it's pretty obvious that since Ash is in pretty much Alexander Rotten's territory with a submission match, I feel as though Ash is going to fall short to Alexander Rotten, and Alexander Rotten will make Ash tap out to the Rot. Now, can things be different? Yes, USW can throw a curveball and have Ash beat Alexander Rotten, but I feel as though this is going to be the final match in their feud. Alexander Rotten will win, especially since it is in his kind of territorial match, or his favorite type of match, or his signature match, and I feel like that's where the feud between Ash and Alexander Rotten is going to end, especially since I've heard some rumors about how USW is trying to get Alexander Rotten back into the main event picture with the USW World Heavyweight Championship, which would make sense with the Seth and Capital rivalry that is I think would end our Call to Greatness 10. But I'll get into that later on. So, Alexander Rotten, I choose him to win, and have this be his final match with Ash. Now we get into the second match, which is for the Blue Belt Championship. Simon Saint defends the title against Lane. Simon Saint has had a long run as Blue Belt Champion, and Lane has been the performer who has tried to take that championship away from him for the past maybe month or two. I think Simon Saint has an 88 day reign, and that is still going on, or by the time Call to Greatness 10 comes up, he will be in his 88th day as Blue Belt Champion. Lane is trying to dethrone him. It's an evenly stacked up match. Of course, you've heard that Lane's contract is expiring with USW, so he will not be with USW for much longer, which is what is making me think that Simon Saint is going to pick up the win against Lane and keep the Blue Belt Championship and go into some other rivalry. I can tell that Simon Saint and Lane was just a build-up to, or just a feud to go into Cold Greatness 10, so that way they can have something with Simon Saint to do. Of course, not as well-known performers like Dustin Raymond and Lane are two performers who have been, whose contracts are expiring this year, and sooner or later. And the ones that are not as known as them are the ones that are facing on the house shows. So they're the ones that are facing, like George Martin is his contract is expiring in, I think, September or October, and he is right now facing on house shows that USW puts on. So performers with expiring contracts who are not very well known as much as many others are stuck in that house show mojo, I guess. Which isn't a bad thing, because they still get some time to compete under USW, but it does take away a little bit from, one more rivalry that they could have, so to say. But Simon Saint will probably defeat Lane, and Lane will go back to, like, the house shows or whatever. Yeah. Before we get into any more, there are rumors that I want to address that I just remembered. First off, Yo-Yo Joe is expected to return at some point during the pay-per-view. I don't know when. At the end of the review, I will try to put a dot on where I think he will inject himself, and I'll do that for every rumor that I see. It's already confirmed that Zach Hardy will be at Cold Greatness 10. He will be addressing the crowd during the pay-per-view, so that should be interesting. Should give us a little bit more information on what happened. I don't even know exactly what's going on with Zach Hardy. I've heard that he was planning on leaving USW by the time his contract ran out and trying to get an early termination, but so far he has said that he will be staying with USW at least until the end of his contract. There's supposed to be a return of a performer that was noted a little bit before, or in the past, who's supposed to be returning as Moshigata's mystery partner against the Masked Assailants. So, that should be interesting. And I'll get more into that when it comes down to the match. There were thoughts that Cannon was going to return and screw Dustin Raymond out of a championship win. There were reports that Chris Ross and Lone Wolf's rivalry will stretch one more pay-per-view, and a couple others that are minor but really not worth talking about. So, yeah. With those out of the way, now we'll get back into the preview. Tag team match was the third match. Case, the team of Amor and Hanasley, will face Prophecy and Philip Akron. This match should be a little bit different. It should be interesting, because Prophecy and Philip Akron, new tag team, only got into being a tag team this past pay-per-view. I believe it was Final Chapter after their match. So Philip Akron and Prophecy are a new tag team. Don't even have a tag team name yet. Again, neither do Ezra and Kills and Benny Franklin, and they're one of the best tag teams in the division right now. But they're going to be facing Case, which is a relatively new tag team. They've had a little bit more experience than Philip Akron and Prophecy. But if I had to pick who would win, I would say Prophecy and Philip Akron. Here's the bigger picture. Will Prophecy and Philip Akron stay a tag team? I don't know. Maybe this will go into a Case versus Philip Akron and Prophecy feud, and then Prophecy and Philip Akron will go their different ways. Because remember, it was Prophecy and Indigo Child turned down Prophecy. Prophecy and Indigo Child had a rivalry, and Prophecy went on to have a better singles career. And then Prophecy teamed up with Cannon, and they tag teamed. They won tag team titles, and Cannon turned down Prophecy. They had a good match, and Prophecy continued his his success. Philip Akron teamed with Chris Ross, I believe, from the middle of 2014 until the end of 2014 when they went their equal ways, and Philip Akron hasn't had much success. Chris Ross hasn't had much success either. Indigo Child went on to team with Chain Reaction and become one of the best tag teams in USW at the beginning of 2015. So, tag team division is looking pretty stacked up, and it looks very interesting. So I'm getting ready to, or I'm looking forward to accepting what USW puts for the tag team division, so on and so forth. But I feel like Prophecy and Philip Akron will win this match if it's a one and done. If it's not a one and done, and it's going to be a feud, I feel like Case will beat Philip Akron and Prophecy. So that's my prediction. Fourth match is another tag team match. It is the Masked Assailants versus Majigata and his mystery partner. There have been reports of who his mystery partner may be. There are different reports of performers from SWO, Stardom Wrestling Organization, coming into USW after SWO's failure in a lot of aspects. There are many different performers from SWO that are coming out, and a few that have been rumored were Clyde, the big performers from SWO, possibly coming into USW as Vice. That's been rumored because of Clyde's one tweet that he said the Vice is going to new heights and new levels or whatever. Dwayne Porter's brother Jake Porter will be coming to USW. That's been thought of. Dwayne Porter and Jake Porter were are brothers, and they both separated ways when Porter went to USW. USW didn't want Jake Porter, so he went to SWO, and it looks like things are changing now. And then other performers from SWO, not really worthy of mentioning too much. And then there are rumors of returning USW performers. I believe Zeus Fitzgerald was one of them mentioned. I think Double XL was one of them that were mentioned. I think all the other ones. I think there were a few others, not as well known, but guys like, for instance, Simon J. or Scene Sheen or whatever, that had some sort of success or whatever. I think there is reports of Wilbur returning, and others, but whoever it may be, it looks like Majigata and his mystery opponent will win and beat the Masked Assailants. Is this going to be a Majigata face turn? Maybe. I hope not, because I feel like Zach Hardy and Majigata will still have a good rivalry once Hardy comes back, and Hardy's a face and Majigata's a heel. That should be a good rivalry. Of course, Cannon and Dustin Raymond are going to happen at some point, being as Cannon's not actually hurt, whereas Zach Hardy is. But who knows? We're going to find out later on. We'll find out sooner or later. Next match is a no disqualification 4-ways match for the Extreme Championship. TJ defends the Extreme Championship against Titanfall, Crimson Red, and Washington. Here are my thoughts on each. TJ, he has not had that much success as Extreme Champion. I don't know why the title's on him. I guess it was kind of just like, we've got nothing for him, so let's throw him into this picture. He seems like he could have potential as an Extreme Champion, so let's push him. Alright, so TJ now has the Extreme title. What's he gonna do now? Oh, well, let's bring in two, the former rivals and have one of those others that are in another rivalry have that rival be brought in. So, Titanfall, former Extreme Champion, boosting up, hopefully, or they're hoping, would boost up this match and boost up hype. Crimson Red, same thing. And Washington was fighting Crimson Red in a feud, so why not bring Washington into it? TJ has the odds stacked against him, of course, a 1 in 4 chance of winning, which is also a 25% chance of winning. And that's the same for every performer. My other thought on Washington, though, is, before he came in, I think late December 2014, I was thinking he was going to start out on the mid-card or whatever, and then go into the Extreme Championship picture. That's pretty much what has happened. At least one shot, apparently. He's not yet in the Extreme Championship picture, but he may be after this. The fans haven't really gotten behind him yet, because they haven't really, or he hasn't really been exposed to them yet. So the fans haven't had time to get used to him. As long as they're, not putting him in the championship picture immediately, or the world championship picture immediately, the fans shouldn't turn on him. But I have a feeling he can put on a good match, or put on good spots in the match. And the Extreme Championship isn't really looked at too highly, so it's not like he'll be credited as someone who didn't deserve a push. But my prediction is that TJ will win, just because Titanfall and Crimson Red and Washington have different things that they could have set for them, and then that would of course mean that this rivalry between other three, if they were to win, would go on with TJ. So I think TJ winning and having a feud with somebody else would be best. Washington may be, lined up for that shot. I don't know, I'll have to find out later, but my prediction is that TJ will win. Next would be the no disqualification 3-ways match for the International Championship. Gringo defends against Fernandez and Anarchy. It was pretty obvious that they threw in Anarchy just so that way they would have another performer. It wouldn't be Gringo and Fernandez again. As well as the fact that Anarchy isn't doing anything right now. So, even though he's not really a fit for the National Championship, and that's a pretty big step down from the Blue Belt Championship picture he was in, it should be interesting. Should be an interesting concept. They've had, a decent build-up, decent hype going into the pay-per-view match with these three. It's definitely not going to be one of the best matches on the card, but it should be interesting. I expect Gringo to come out the winner, because if not, then you have Gringo facing somebody else for the title, or it would be Fernandez or Anarchy. If Fernandez won, you wouldn't really have anything to do with him, and he's lost too many matches, so it wouldn't be regular. And Anarchy was just thrown in there to have it be different, and not have it be the same match you've seen already. So Gringo seems like the most likely performer to win. So that's my prediction. I don't know if Fernandez, Anarchy, or Gringo will be doing after this. Hopefully it'll be something good, but we'll have to wait and see. Next match is Morbid versus Western Light. This should be a good match. I don't know why it's not one of the higher put-up matches. I guess the next matches would have been Lone Wolf, Chris Ross, and then Alex and James, so there's something that should be interesting going into those matches. So there should be a good reason for why Morbid vs. Western Light isn't later in the card, but it's still going to be a great match. Western Light's whole motto for this match is that Zach Hardy beat Morbid's streak. He made him 7-1. Zach Hardy killed the streak, but Zach Hardy didn't kill Morbid. So I feel like, Western Light feels like he wants to kill Morbid, and not just, Zach Hardy killed Morbid's streak, but Western Light wants to kill Morbid. That's an interesting concept. That's a very believable reason for why Western Light wants to face Morbid. And I like what they're doing with it. I like how Western Light and Morbid have been, hyped up or whatever for the past few months. It's one of the very few feuds that I've ever seen that have been booked throughout a few months and still be interesting going into the 4th or 5th pay-per-view match. Excuse me. They had a match on Intensity last Wednesday. Of course, it wasn't really a match because Western Light backed out and got himself counted out. So Morbid won via forfeit, which was what had a little bit more hype added to the match at Cult of Greatness 10. Who do I think will win? I'm gonna go ahead and say Morbid, because Morbid has about a year, or maybe 9 or 10 months left on his contract. So he's going to be here for a while, and I feel like Western Light is going to defeat Morbid in that case scenario. And Morbid will do something throughout the rest of the few pay-per-views. Hopefully he'll be involved in the matches, or in more matches than he is usually involved in, which is one match every so often. But I'm looking forward to it. I think Morbid is going to win, and go on to do some other pay-per-view feuds or whatever. Next match is Lone Wolf versus Chris Ross. I think this is more of a calm-down match from Morbid and Western Light. It should be alright. I'm not going to go into it too much, because this is probably not going to be the final feud or final match that they have. I'm going to go ahead and say Lone Wolf is going to win. Next match is Alex versus James. Now, I've heard rumors about this, and it seems like it's going to happen. Here's what I think is going to happen. Alex and James are going to be fighting out, or whatever. And then at some point, somebody's going to get themselves disqualified. Kyle Reese is going to come out, he's going to make it a no disqualification match. Alex will face James. James will get the upper hand. He will have a chair and he's ready to hit Alex. And then George Martin, the one who's rumored to come out and help Alex, will come out with a chair. He'll turn towards Alex. They'll both walk towards him. And then George Martin will bash James over the head and help Alex win. That's how I think things are going to happen, because I feel like the rumors of George Martin coming back to Alex's side will happen and will take place at Cold Greatness 10, and what better way, or what better place or time for them to take place than at Cold Greatness 10. So I think that's what's going to happen, and Alex will defeat James. And I feel like Alex will bring back that Alex Martin name instead of just keeping it as Alex. So that's how we think that's going to happen. Next match will be for the USW World Heavyweight Championship. Seth defends the title against Capital. Not much to say about this match. They haven't really had hype. I'm glad that they've taken these two out of the main event picture for now. They had the first match on Intensity last week. Well, technically, by the time this is released, 2 days ago, or by the time this is released, Intensity would have been 2 days ago, because this is being recorded on Friday, and probably released on Friday. But either way, Seth and Capital, not much to say about this match. It should be interesting. This should be the final match of the feud. So I feel like Seth will defeat Capital, and then Seth will probably go on to face Alexander Rotten at No Remorse for the USW World Heavyweight Championship, and then I'll give my prediction for that if it were to happen next week around this time. Next match will be for the USW Tag Team Championships. Ezra Kills and Benny Franklin defend the titles against Indigo Reaction. This is also supposed to be the final feud of the rivalry. I would expect it to be, especially since it is one of the best rivalries they've had for a while, and it's taken place at Cold Greatness 10, so of course my prediction is Ezra Kills and Benny Franklin to defeat Indigo Reaction. Who will Hills and Franklin face or defend the titles against next time? I don't know. We'll find out later on. Indigo Reaction, I don't know what they're going to do. Hopefully they won't fade out of existence, and hopefully neither team will disband, but they've got a bright future ahead of them. So Ezra Kills and Benny Franklin to win. Next match is the main event, is for the USW Championship. Dustin Raymond defends the USW Championship against Dwayne Porter. Obviously the most hyped match on this card, and for a good reason. Dustin Raymond wins the title against Moshigeta at Final Chapter. Here's how it played out. Dwayne Porter defeated Dustin Raymond at its Insanity... Dwayne Porter won the 20-man gauntlet match at Insanity 2014 to earn a shot at the USW Championship. And Zach Hardy defeated Moshigeta and Cannon at Insanity 2014 to retain the USW title. That went on to have Moshigeta defeat Dustin Raymond, Zach Hardy, Western Light, Morbid, and I believe Cannon. And win the USW title. Dustin Raymond went on to defeat Moshigeta at Final Chapter for the USW title, won the rematch, and then that leads up to Dustin Raymond versus Dwayne Porter for the USW title. very similar to what they had with their Blue Belt Championship feud, but this is different because it's the main event of Cold Greatness 10. The 10th Cold Greatness, the main event of the 10th Cold Greatness for the biggest prize you have in USW, in the USW Championship, and you've got this feud coming in as the top feud and the top build match on the card. My prediction is that Dwayne Porter will win. Dwayne Porter and Dustin Raymond will have a match at No Remorse. And then Cannon will cost Dustin Raymond his match at No Remorse. Dustin Raymond and Cannon will have a feud, and Dwayne Porter will face somebody else for the USW Championship. That's my prediction for that match. Yo-Yo Joe's entrance, or entry into Cold Greatness 10, I think will take place during, who would need a boost? Probably during the International Championship match. Gringo would face Yo-Yo Joe, or Yo-Yo Joe would face Fernandez or Anarchy. That's what I think is going to happen. I think Zach Hardy versus, or Zach Hardy having his promo will probably take place before Morbid versus Western Light, just because that would be a better place, in between the international title match and the match between his competitor from last year, at last year's Cold Greatness. I think that's what's going to happen there. And I think Cannon will come out with some kind of promo during the night. I don't know where, but just expect that. So guys, thank you for watching. That was my preview and prediction video for USW Cold Greatness 10. That will be taking place this Sunday, April 26th, 2014 or 2015 at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Thank you for watching. Remember to like, favorite, and subscribe for more. I'm Chase Clover, signing off.